welcome to the summer solstice edition of Weather Chats with Whittaker. Today is the summer solstice. It is June 20th, 2020, and the solstice happened here at 5:43 p.m. That means that the North Pole was tilting towards the sun, and we have our longest day of daylight hours. Now here in New York State, we have about 15 hours of daylight. On the other end, in the wintertime, we have about 8 hours of daylight, and that all has to do with the tilt of the Earth. So seasons are caused by two things: the tilt of the Earth and the revolution of the Earth around the sun. So now that we're tilting towards the sun, we are receiving longer hours of daylight. We're kind of leaning forward. If you think about a sphere leaning forward, we're getting more direct sunlight. So the roundness of the Earth is not blocking the sun for as long as it does during the winter time. Places like Alaska and going up towards the North Pole are seeing 24 hours of daylight, while areas like the South Pole are seeing 24 hours of darkness. So we have long hours of sunlight, so that contributes to the warming effect. We also have a high altitude of the sun, and that's called insolation, incoming solar radiation. So with the sun high in the sky at about 72 degrees, angular degrees up in the sky at noontime, very direct sunlight, so it's a much more intense heating effect than when the sun is lower in the sky, like in the wintertime. You can think of it like a flashlight. The flashlight shines straight down, it has a very small circle. You tilt it, that same amount of energy gets spread out over a larger area, making it more diluted, to say, so making it a bit weaker. So long hours of daylight, high angle of insolation or high angle of sunshine causes it to warm up here in the summertime. Now do remember that this is the winter solstice for the southern hemisphere. The South Pole is tilting away from the sun, causing shorter hours of daylight and lower angles of insolation, and so they'll start to see cooling temperatures. And as we go around the sun, our seasons will move into fall, and the southern hemisphere will move into their spring. So seasons are opposite in the southern hemisphere. So a couple of things to note. There is a difference between astronomical summer, which is what we are experiencing today when the North Pole is tilting towards the sun, and meteorological summer, which starts on June 1st. So June, July, and August are considered meteorological summer, and that's just based more on like temperatures. So our meteorological summer is warm. Meteorological winter is December, January, February would be cold. So they're around the same, but slightly different as far as timing, and it just has to do with meteorological being more based on temperatures and astronomical being more about our position in our orbit around space. Something else to notice about the summer solstice here in the northern hemisphere is that we're actually farther from the sun by millions of miles, right? In the winter time, towards January and February, we're actually millions of miles closer to the sun. So the distance from the sun actually doesn't have any effect on the seasons. That's a misconception that a lot of people still believe in. So distance from the sun has no effect, or a very negligible effect, on our temperatures here. So that's what I have for you about the summer solstice. Enjoy the long hours of daylight. Sunrise is around 5:30 and sunsets around 8:30 p.m. So plenty of daylight hours to get out there and enjoy the warm temperatures. Stay cool and join me again for Weather Chats with Whittaker.